This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow.
Hello, and welcome back to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we love to talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am a chocolate-upped Easter boy. It is Happy Sunday, everybody. It is Easter Day. And, yes, and I have a chocolate bunny in the other room waiting for my attention. So. Oh, my. So we got to hurry this up. Milk chocolate waits for no man.
Hello, I'm Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And today, I think I missed out on all the chocolate bunnies and eggs, and I am not sad about it. It's usually terrible.
Oh, nothing worse than finding a Palmer's Easter bunny in your basket. Wow.
Ooh, yes, with brown, basically the brown wax of chocolate. Yep. But anyway, I'm very much enjoying we had a lovely rainstorm yesterday, which was a lot of fun. And today it's all clear. And I planted some mint because I have some mint drinks that I want to try to engineer this spring. And so I planted some mint, and the mint was not harmed. No mint was harmed in the taping of this episode.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today I'm a Sunday boy. I had some coffee, I had a croissant, and I'm
You're welcome, sweetheart.
I'm bunnyless but ready to take on the day.
And my name is Michael Willer. I am a chubby chaser, and surprise, I was inside your little plastic Easter egg that you found on your Easter egg hunt. I'm surprised.
Starting silly. I like it.
I figure I rarely have the inspiration to do a Trevor style intro, and when I do, I gotta go. So
do any of you guys have any Easter traditions that you follow?
No.
Is that a thing?
You mean beyond ham or something? I don't think so.
I didn't mean to shut that down. I thought that Don would have been the one who disliked religion more than me. And I have no Easter traditions purely because of the religious element.
I'll be honest, if you dip your religion in chocolate, I'm usually going to be a more favorably inclined towards
That's fair.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. You know, when the Jehovah's Witnesses come to the door, you're like, yeah, but you have chocolate.
Yeah.
Does the Bible come in chocolate?
Yeah, I'm willing to listen about the kingdom of heaven if you're giving me the right kind of cocoa.
I don't know. I don't think that would sway me. I think I would just shut the door. I can get chocolate anywhere, anytime.
Oh, yeah, you can.
That's right. I'm an adult.
Just look for any windowless white vans in your neighborhood.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Moving on
to housekeeping. Thank you to our patrons on Patreon for supporting the show. We've had a really steady Patreon for almost 2 years now, and you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. It helps us pay for all the things we need to do to keep the show going. Mm-hmm. Also, thank you to our partner, Bigger City, for sponsoring the show, and to Big Fig, and to
Bearskin.
Bearskin. Thank you. I don't know why I forget the name.
Use promo code BigFatGayPod for 15% off your order. And you know what? You save 15% and we get that little 15%. We get, it's a little like under the table.
It's a
like
double
wink,
gift.
Wink.
Yeah, because it's a discount off your order. And
some underwear fell off a truck.
Oh, and it has a bear in it.
There's no losing is what we're saying. All right, shall we get started?
Yes. I'm very curious what people have to say about this next thing.
First article?
Yeah.
The no shit Sherlock article?
Thank you.
That was my reaction.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Scientists report water wet.
Yes. We love a water is wet moment here at the Big Fat Gay Podcast. But I think it's important to celebrate when like an outlet like People Magazine publishes something like this. people who are genetically prone to obesity need to work out harder to avoid weight gain.
Oh my God. I was thinking, like, this reminds me of, this is like, new study shows that poor people have to work more hours for the same amount of money than rich people.
Yes. They could have asked any fat person, but that's fine.
Well, no, or they could have looked at the studies for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, as they put it, it's very valuable to have an exact number of extra steps that fat people have to take in order to.
Yeah, that's the breaking news. They've calculated how much extra, which again is depends on you. So
right, they're going by.
I love that.
Like percentile, like what your polygenic risk score percentile was, and that determines
I have no
how many
excuse
extra
for
steps.
being fat now. I know I just have to spend an extra 3 hours on the treadmill.
People magazine.
Thanks, science.
Is the polygenic risk score in the room with you right now?
Wink once for yes, blink for no.
They also almost say that the BMI is racist. They get very close.
They tap dance next to it.
Yeah.
They sort of gesture in its direction,
It's historically flawed.
This is one of those articles where I'm like, we can pass on what it says and then just make comedy at it for a little while. There's really no content we can do with it.
I think we should pivot into the next one, which kind of I think has evolved from I think what we talked about. But also, I am curious what people's thoughts are, because I thought this was a very strange.
It is very
article.
strange. So in the New York Times, we have fashion chatter in the style section. Lizzo embraces body neutrality. The singer Lizzo, who just released a new swim line under her brand Yitty, has moved on from body positivity.
But there's only one quote about body neutrality in the entire article. And it's just, I'm about body. And she says, I'm about body neutrality now. And that's it. That's the entire article. Yet it's the headline, right?
But it's also,
did I miss something?
Yeah, no, that's basically it. I mean, a lot of it reads, it's very much focused on her swimsuit
on her
line.
fashion. Yeah.
It's a sales ad. It's an ad that's selling this line.
Which is great.
It's using some buzzwords about body neutrality to try and get some extra clicks. That's all I can
I think it's a little more insidious than that. It's kind of taking what Lizzo's known for, which is not the term body positivity, but just being self-loving about her fat body, and then kind of making it seem like, well, now she's about neutrality. And it kind of feels like they're kind of twisting.
Well, and I think what she said there, because body positivity has become such a quagmire, it's time for a new quagmire. And that new quagmire is body neutrality, because nobody really knows what it means, except everybody knows what it means. Yeah. And I think what she means by body neutrality is, I'm sick of talking about my bodies, y'all. Can we move on?
Yeah. So there's that, but it also, I feel like the author of this article, really wanted to talk about her Lizzo's body. And I was like, is this it's almost like I was looking to see what is this person written to? It's because
I have a
do
guess.
You not know who Lizzo is, or do you hate fat people? It's just weird. And this person actually covers a lot of very high profile people in kind of fashion stuff, like King Charles, Barbara Walters, Pamela Anderson. And it's you not really have a beat on body culture stuff and just Lizzo in general. Do you not?
But she might not if she's a 50-year-old white woman.
Well, I think that might be who she is.
Yeah. I think so. I have a guess. The writer of the article / interviewer is Ruth Laferla. Yes, Laferla. Ruth Laferla, something like that. My take, just given how the article's structured and that it is mostly about the new swimsuit line, but it has these weird other elements in it, including ending on the interviewer trying to ask Lizzo about her harassment lawsuits, hostile work accusation, and work environment accusations, and Lizzo's publicist saying, "Yeah, we're not going to talk about that." And then literally ending on the quote, "My body is nobody's business." I think this was a tit for tat situation where they were like, we're going to do an article about your new swimsuit line but she was really intending to go in with the angle of, hey, I want to get the gossip on, I want to get the inside track on, this stuff that's going on, this like drama going on in Lizzo's life. And Lizzo wouldn't give her that. Mm-hmm. That was my take.
This article was published on March 27th. We are recording this on March 31st.
Yeah.
Yesterday, was it? No, I guess it was Friday.
Yeah.
It says one day ago. On Friday, Lizzo posted on Instagram. I guess I'll read the post just because it's...
Just read it, yeah.
Yeah. I'm tired of putting up with being dragged by everyone in my life and on the internet. All I want is to make music and make people happy and help the world be a little better than how I found it. But I'm starting to feel like the world doesn't want me in it. I'm constantly up against lies being told about me for clout and views, being the butt of every joke every single time because of how I look. My character is being picked apart by people who don't know me and disrespecting my name. I didn't sign up for this shit. I quit.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
It's kind of where social media is these days. It's why Florida's trying to ban kids from being on social media.
So we're 2 days out from that post. There have been several articles kind of written about it. There's already memes. So I don't know if this is actually like Lizzo quitting the music industry.
I think she needs a break.
I think just to not be on social media. I think it is understandable to be at this point when you are a public figure, especially, like a fat Black woman, and there is such ownership of everything about you, and it sucks.
But I think that is what gives the journalist, and perhaps I should use the term loosely here.
Yeah.
It's what gives the writer that authorization to probe that ownership. And I think that's why it's being interrogated. It's like, so you're body positive. Are you positive now? How about now? When you were wearing this, when you're wearing that yellow dress, were you positive then? And I think it gets to be like, if you say you should be happy in your body, how is it? How is it being in a fat body? Why don't you tell us?
It's like asking someone to justify why they're proud of themselves.
Yes. And because the assumption is you shouldn't, or most people aren't. And therefore, what do you do? What's your secret to not hating yourself?
Most people who look like you would be shutting themselves away from society. What gives you the courage to actually expose your body to the world?
You're so brave.
You're so brave. Oh God, yeah.
I think it's just so
but
typical.
You see how, it's typical.
But like, I'm happy in my body. It's like, well, are you happy in your body? It's like, well, yes. Like sometimes I don't know. Having a body is a nuanced and complicated issue.
But I can tell you, as someone who's had a micro dose of that kind of attention in media, people ask the most ridiculous questions. That's why you're there. That's why they put you on the news. When I got put on the Tyra show, I'm on the Tyra show to speak for all chubby chasers forever and for always, everywhere. And it's kind of, and they throw these questions at you that come out of nonsense, and it's your job to deal with it, not their job to ask better questions or more interesting questions.
Yeah. Or to see you as a person.
Yeah. No, because you are there as an attraction. You are there as a sideshow attraction.
Yeah.
Do you know who is not a sideshow attraction?
Who, Don?
Our eagle.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Well, bye.
Our eagle
bye, pop culture.
Fat Watch 2024.
I'm so glad that eagle is not a gimmick. I love that.
Yeah.
Come on back, Michael. Come on back.
I'm there's some whiplash happening. I'm trying to put myself into Fat Watch again.
I love this article. I live this article.
A
why don't you set this article up?
Rolly transition.
So the New York Times has done this article. Ostensibly on the San Francisco War Memorial Opera House, but really about a bigger trend. And the headline is "The Opposite of Airlines: When Larger Audiences Require Fewer Seats," which is a strange headline. I think it just happened to fit the column width. But what they mean is that unlike airlines that are trying to cram more seats into planes, a lot of opera houses and other theatrical venues are trying to take seats out to make them bigger and more comfortable.
Yep.
And the case in point that they lead the article off with is the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco, which, like a lot of theaters, this was true of so many Broadway theaters too, the seats were installed and designed in 1906 or 19, well, actually, not so much San Francisco, they had a big quake.
Yeah.
But, let's say 1920 something. And the average size of a person was 50 pounds smaller than they are today. And guess what? The seats don't fit. And they've made some changes. They're arguably, it's something. It's better.
Well, there's kind of two things, because they've redone every seat in the theater. There are fewer seats now to make them a little roomier. Mostly what they did was they made them sturdier and gave people more foot room.
They gave more foot room, and they reduced the width of the armrest so you don't smash your ass sitting in it.
Actually,
but they also added seats that are designed to, I forget what they called them. They had a funny term for them. Bariatric seats. That can hold up to 600 pounds and are wider, and so if you need that accommodation.
I'm going to point out another change they made. They removed the padding on the back of the seats.
Yes.
So something I don't talk a lot about on the show, I'm 6'3" on top of being fat, right? That is as much of a bane to my existence as being fat. Leaving every time I went to most of the great theaters in New York City to see a play, I would leave with massive bruises on my knees from being pressed up against the seat in front of me for 3 hours, right? Removing that back padding will actually give you like an extra inch, or half an inch or an inch.
I would say 3.
I'm overjoyed by that.
Yeah, it's really good. And it should be said that this is not just one opera house, in San Francisco. This is sweeping the country to the extent that places they're trying to do is they're trying to lure people off their couches, because the argument is, especially for opera, like if you go to see some Wagner, that could be you're 4 hours in a chair, and if that chair is uncomfortable, you're like, I could just listen to the recording at home. And
most of the people paying for those seats are not the kind of people that are willing to be uncomfortable.
No. Well, and your ticket price is already so high, having capital campaign to generate some more money, you can afford it. But this is also happening in not just these sort of rarefied opera houses around the country, but even Broadway theater. We've talked on the show about how seating accommodation in Broadway theater is in some of the best I've seen in the country, as far as, compared to like what we have in LA. But what they've done in New York is they've had a ticket charge. I don't know if anybody's been to Broadway theater recently, but part of what you pay is a I can't remember what they call it, but like a historical upgrade charge or something like that, where you're charged a few dollars that goes into the fund to upgrade Broadway theater.
Yeah.
Because, they were built in the 19th century or early 20th century, all of these buildings, and they need some renovation.
We talked in the past about a theater in Texas where they hired people to basically go up to people in the theater when they took their phone out and tell them to put it away or leave.
We did?
Yeah, this was in Texas pre-COVID, a long time ago. And what happened was this woman called in and left a message on their answering machine, chewing them out for treating her so badly just because she was talking on her phone during the movie.
Yes, of course.
Right? The movie theater took that message and used it as a radio ad.
I love it.
And their ticket sales went through the roof.
I bet.
I would pay so much money. I would donate money to a theater that did that. I wouldn't even have to. Yeah.
So that's my pitch. Is that there are special theaters that are built basically as Faraday cages, so there's no cell phone reception. And
you can get blockers. Blockers are a real thing.
They're a real thing.
You can't do that though.
They're illegal.
I know they're illegal, but you could still do it.
No, I'm saying build the Faraday cage. Build the theater as the Faraday cage, and you charge extra for it, and you can have a cell phone free movie experience.
Well, until that happens, we're going to be at home watching on our couches. And since talking about being on our couches, watching things. This week, we are revisiting picture it. It's 86.
91. I think 91. Oh,
Yeah.
no, it was season 3, right? This is basically, what we're talking
Yes.
about is the Golden Girls. We're doing this is a very special episode of the Big Fat Gay Podcast. And we're talking about a particular episode of the Golden Girls, which aired, I think I'm going to guess the late 80s, because it's season 3, episode 14.
1988.
88. So there we go. So, and the title of this Golden Girls episode is Blanche's Little Girl, which is ironic.
The episode description.
You want me to set it up?
Actually, hold on. To set up Golden Girls, if anyone has never seen Golden Girls, it is about 4 women. They're, 50 years and up, living together in a house in Miami, going through the struggles of being an older woman in America in a new era of life.
And pretty much every gay man in America loved this show, at least either at the time or in syndication. It was. I even had one of my best friend at the time who was straight was like, "You watch the Golden Girls? Oh my God, the only people who watch that are old people and gays." I'm like, yep.
Yeah. You caught on quick, didn't you?
It's not really true anymore, though. Over COVID, it caught on with mainstream audiences again. It was like Friends. It just sort of resurged.
It's an amazing show. It's some of the best writing on television, even still. It's just a different era of good writing.
Being performed by some of the most masterful comic actresses of their generation.
That is true.
Yeah, I actually was at a seminar held by Hal Prince, who is a luminary of musical theater, and he said, in the old days before television, every one of these Golden Girls episodes would have been a Broadway play. Like you would have, it would have only been on the New York stage that you could have seen 4 stars performing writing of this quality, and now you get it every week on television.
But so the 4 women are Blanche Devereaux, a saucy Southern, aging Belle. Dorothy Zbornak, a tough New York-born substitute teacher.
I'd say a tough talking but highly educated retired school teacher, now doing substitute work, and her mother, whom she had committed to a retirement home, but I think something happened with the retirement
It burned
home,
down.
and now they're living together. It burned down, yeah.
Can I just say, I love when we trip and fall into a TV series that Dan actually likes. It's like, all of a sudden, like Dan's an expert.
And then
I love it.
Rose Nyland, a Midwestern dummy with a heart of gold.
From St. Olaf.
Which is a real town, actually.
Which is, So this episode, I'm just going to read the log line on IMDb and we can get into it, because this is a particular episode we're talking about, not the whole show. Blanche sees her daughter Rebecca for the first time in, it says 3 years here. That's 4 years.
It's in the script. It's 4. Yeah.
Yeah. When she learns her daughter is engaged to a man who mistreats her, she is afraid to speak out for fear of destroying their relationship again. Now,
That's
this glosses over
that's interesting.
the primary source of jokes in this show, which is that her daughter in the interim time has gained quite a bit of weight, and they did not know that she had gained quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, I got to say though, I like this episode a lot, and I don't know. I'll go on record.
I hated this episode.
Oh, perfect. No, I'll tell you why. We'll get into it. Yeah. I'm gonna do my take on it. Michael will vehemently disagree.
Sure. Yeah,
I have a feeling I know why Michael really hates the episode.
It's not hard to guess.
Well, no, it is. Because here's the thing. What I like about the episode is, and again, this will not talk about all the things that Michael's going to hate. What I like about the episode is that Rebecca, the fat daughter, shows up. Now it's been set up that she was a fashion model and that she and her mother Blanche had a falling out because Rebecca decided to go to France, to Paris, to pursue a modeling career because she was just that beautiful. And her mother wanted her to finish school. So now 4 years later, Rebecca comes home, wants to see her mother. And so Blanche is expecting a fashion model. And who shows up is a very, very pretty and very, very fat woman. And so she comes to the door, and of course, Sophia instantly starts.
Hold on, no, I will say, it is not instantly. They pause for laughs. It is because there's like a They give it a moment to be like, look, she's fat.
Literally just her opening the door and revealing a fat person is the first fat joke.
Because they were expecting a Paris fashion model. It's not just a fat person showed up at the door. It's that the person.
I can't wait for you to defend all of the other fat jokes in this episode.
Oh no, I'm not going to defend him. No, but I will say this. I'll get into that later. So what's interesting is Rebecca and Blanche go back to the bedroom, and the first thing Blanche says is, "Oh, honey, I know you've gained a bit of weight." And the daughter says, "Yeah, I gained a bit of weight." And Blanche says, "Don't worry, honey, we'll get you on a diet. I'm going to make sure you stick with it." And the daughter says, "Actually, I'm really happy about my size. I don't have a problem with my size." And for the rest of the episode, that's the end of it. Like that is almost like, where's the dwarf and the unicorn? Because now we're in fantasy land almost. Where is it?
I'm sorry, the end of what?
That is the end of the discussion of her going on a diet.
Because that is not the end of the fat jokes in that episode.
No. But I know you're really focused on the fat jokes, and rightly so. I get that. But if you look at everything around that, what's interesting is that Rebecca says, "I'm happy with the way I am." And that's the end of the diet discussion. Like that is never mentioned again. And I really respect that. That is a huge thing, because that could have been the whole episode right there. That could have been the whole episode.
I have to point out here is that there is a contextual difference here between the world that Dan has existed in the past and the world that Michael exists in now.
Oh, right? Sure. The fat jokes are horrible.
Yeah.
But something I want to address about that.
For Dan and me of our generation, when I was of that age, I couldn't expect fatness to be discussed.
I'm sorry. I got to hold on. I got to jump in here.
Yeah.
These are not just your average innuendos. One of the fat jokes in the movie, in the show, is, "Oh, they didn't have I saw the guy that she brings home who's very offensive says, 'Oh, I saw her and there wasn't a table, and so I just went to sat at her.'"
Yes. Well, I had to pause and be like, because it is such a. I was like,
explain it.
So I get that's a fat joke, but it's just a weird.
Yeah.
And so hold on, Michael, about the jokes. So because I was like, Jesus Christ, is this like? Because Sophia, it's just there's a scene when everyone is meeting Rebecca, it's like every third line is a joke from Sophia. And
there are 13 overt fat jokes in this episode.
And they're all made by two people.
No, that's not true.
I mean, but so Dan and Don have to give me more context, maybe Michael too. There's a whole, I feel like, plot line that is maybe in some earlier episodes of Golden Girls, that it comes up occasionally that Sophia had a stroke and that's the reason she has she
can't keep her mouth.
Established in the pilot, and then they never really go back to it. But
and Dorothy keeps apologizing for her in this episode and most others. What I will say, to me, what is interesting about the fat jokes, yes, they are horrible. Yes, they are invective. Yes, they are meant to hurt and be awful. But here's what I find is an interesting difference. When Sophia makes the fat jokes at the beginning of the show, and she makes them often, everything out of her mouth, and as Trevor says, it's about every third line of the show, is a fat joke about Rebecca. And it's a laugh riot. And this is what I find interesting. When the boyfriend, whom she is about to marry, makes almost the same level of horrible fat jokes, he's the bad guy. From him, it's abuse. But somehow from Sophia, it's like, oh, that old lady.
Well, I'm also going to point out that the fat jokes that come from the guy, because Sophia's are supposed to be the price of admission ones, they're like, you got to make these jokes if you're going to have a fat character. They actually have to make his jokes even more toxic and awful to point out that he is toxic and awful.
Well, and now hold on a second. Now, he's not just making fat jokes. He's making a lot of comments about her.
Yeah,
that are just awful. Terrible,
and he's abusive.
He is broadly just a terrible person.
Yeah.
It's not just two. I don't know where you got two characters from, Dan, but it's almost everybody. I think the only one who doesn't make a fat joke in the episode,
Dorothy,
is Dorothy.
Yeah,
I don't think Rose does.
Rose says,
really?
Where did I put it? We didn't expect you to be this fat, which. It's
that's not a joke.
It is a fact.
Yeah,
but they paused for laughter, Dan. It may not be a clever joke, but they paused for laughter.
But that is not a fat joke. Okay. That is laughing at Rose saying what everybody's thinking.
Yes, but they intended it as a fat joke. And I think
they intended it as a joke, surely, yes.
Well, no, I agree with both of you on that.
And I think that's something where it's like, in, golden girls, perfect world, everyone's holding hands, where fat is truly a neutral descriptor, I think, we can go into this later, but like, I think that could not be a joke. I think that could just be a statement, but they intended it as a joke.
Yeah, I get my barometer for this, Dan, just so you know, is I don't think you would have gotten the same joke if she had showed up and she had gone from fat to thin.
No, but you absolutely could have used the same joke if someone says they're a jockey and someone 6'4" shows up at the door and Rose says, "Wow, we didn't expect you to be so tall."
Yeah, but they wouldn't have paused for laughter on that. That's
they
not
would
funny.
have. They would have, because everybody's expecting somebody short.
No,
and the joke is
that particular joke would have been the opening the door moment. The visual reveal, going back to Rose to make the observation 5 lines later to double down on the joke, that would not have gotten a laughter for the jockey.
Absolutely would.
I think it would, but I think it would have just been...
It wouldn't have landed
and I think it's
because I don't think it plays.
I think there is so much about the absurdity and just the cruelty that is still there, but I feel like was so acceptable in just laughing at a fat person existing.
Yeah. And look, it's a comedy. It's in the 80s. There are going to be fat jokes. So yeah, that makes it awful. On the other hand, what I like about the episode is that it is not about losing weight. It is not about losing weight to fit in. It is absolutely, this is what I love. It is not about, if you weren't so fat, you wouldn't be treated so badly. That is not the point of the episode. The point of the episode is you're being treated badly. You should dump this guy. And and what everybody's tiptoeing around is that Blanche has had this rapprochement for 4 years with this girl. And she doesn't want to get involved in her life because that's how she lost her the last time. So she holds her tongue.
So I want to kind of clarify, because I get what Dan's going for, which is that the actual story of the episode is great. Like, I really love the story of what they're telling, which is that Blanche is just trying to be a good mother, and this guy is terrible to her daughter. She doesn't know how to express that without losing her daughter again, but she's got to get through to her because her daughter's trying to get married to this guy because she thinks this is the best that she can do. Like, that is all great. I would have loved the episode if it had just been that. What I needed for this to have made good, even with all the fat jokes, what I needed to see happen and does not happen is all of our heroes are making these fat jokes. Yeah, the bad guy is too. Everybody's doing them. And by the end of the episode, I thought this is how they were going to take it, which is I thought they were going to say, our main characters see this guy making the same fat jokes towards this woman, and they then realize, we are expressing our own bias. We need to check ourselves and be better. They do not do that. Nobody on our hero cast is ever put in their place for saying these awful things.
You are correct.
I can't like that. Well, frankly, that just ruins it for me.
I think it's just, and my take on that is you are absolutely right, Michael. And I think it's just too much to expect for 1988.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to me too. I couldn't imagine that in that time period.
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
They don't do it now. So we talked about doing this as a format for other shows. And the one that I was thinking of was Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Exact same thing happens. And that was only like 9 years ago.
I think it is very pointed that Dorothy does not make any fat jokes. And I wonder if B. Arthur refused.
I would love to know,
because it is just very like Rose doesn't make a ton of jokes. It
fits with her character.
Rose I feel like really the only one is we didn't expect you to be this fat. There may have been another, but it is.
There may have been one later, but she also does not have, her jokes were very soft.
And it's comedy of a time too. So it can be hard sometimes to gauge some of the way the jokes land 40 years later, one of the things that gave me a few issues is just the separation between, so she's supposed to be, she went out there as this incredibly hot fashion model, conventionally speaking, and then she gained weight. And then all of a sudden her self-esteem crumbles to the point where she's willing to accept this guy because she believes it's the best that she can get. So that was one of the things that really didn't jive for me, was she establishes herself as being happy at this weight, but then not having enough self-esteem to resist this guy.
Yeah, let me talk about that. Yeah.
To me, it felt like two different episodes, one about fatness and one about self-esteem, that were being jammed together.
Yeah, let me talk about that. Yeah,
that made me a little less. It made the message muddy to me.
Yeah, because it's set up as like this is going to be the episode about fat girls, and it's not, because
and then it's not.
What it turns into is this is the episode about not settling when you're and I want to. There's a really good line, because Blanche asks her daughter point blank, "Why are you marrying this guy?" And Rebecca says, "Because I want a family, because I want to be married, and I think it's the best I can do."
And that undoes all the positive stuff that I had about
I don't
the
think
character.
so. I don't think so, because I have run into this over and over again in the Chubb community, where absolutely, where guys have told me the same thing point blank. Well, that's as good as I'm going to get. And I've had that conversation with men, and it's amazing how pernicious it is. And here's what and here's the other sort of, it's not really fair to bring it into this episode, but it is fair. It is about settling, and it is about self-esteem to a certain extent, but I don't think it's that the episode is trying to show. I don't think it's this, that the episode is trying to show that being fat causes low self-esteem. She is fat, and she thinks she can't do any better, but the two are never literally linked. And what I take as proof is that there is an episode much later in the series where Blanche is being abused by a man and having her confidence undermined. And he's telling her she's fat, she needs to lose weight. And she goes, "Am I fat? Do I need to lose weight?" And so it's coming from a completely different side. And so I think that, and I get that, it may not be fair to bring in another episode, but the series has a track record of being good about this, is I guess what I'm saying.
One thing that bothered me is when they resolve everything, and there's kind of a very tender moment between Blanche and her daughter, and her daughter leaves Jeremy, the abusive fiance, comes back. They have this resolution. They end it with another kind of subtle fat joke where they're about to go into the kitchen with the rest of the girls, and I don't remember how they said it. It's because there's cheesecake, and then Blanche turns her around and she's like, "Well, let's go sit on the lanai," because she doesn't want the.
That's an interesting one, because when you refer to that joke, I don't think of that as a fat joke. I think of that as a mom joke.
It's a fat joke.
I'm sorry. No, not a chance.
The joke isn't about the daughter. The joke is about the mother.
No, because all right. So Blanche goes and gets her fat daughter that they have been railing the entire episode for being fat. And she says, "Oh, come join us in the episode. Come join us in the kitchen. We're having cheesecake." And the daughter goes, "Oh, I love cheesecake." And Blanche goes, "Actually, no, never mind. Let's go out into the patio."
Yeah.
How is that not a fat joke?
It's a joke about the mother's anxiety that she hasn't changed yet, that she's trying, but she's not there yet. I don't see it as a direct fat joke.
I'm on the fence about it. Is it possible? Is it possible if it reminds me of, Trevor, it reminds me of when you talk about how in The Nanny, the character of the mother who's always eating, but it doesn't seem to be a fat joke.
I don't know, but because we've also been watching a lot of The Nanny lately. And to me, it's like that is not the same kind of camp of joke about just kind of like neurosis and food. It is because that joke, if she were skinny, it would have just been like a weird, that's a weird, I don't think that would land with a skinny woman being turned away from the cheesecake.
I mean, here's the thing, whether or not it's a fat joke, and the point is that if it's a fat joke, I think Michael will concede it is probably the most minimally offensive of all the fat jokes on that show.
Yeah,
given how horrible the rest
exactly.
are so horrible. Yeah,
the rest of them
granted. And I think you're absolutely right, Michael, that Sophia, if Sophia had the epiphany at the end that, oh, maybe I shouldn't be making those jokes like I did at the beginning. And that would also satisfy my criticism that how come when Sophia makes it, it's funny, but when the guy makes it, it's abusive. Because they're essentially the same jokes, except Sophia doesn't want to marry her.
It's also that it's interesting that if this is an episode where Sophia's humor is directed almost entirely at the daughter, most episodes, Sophia is like a shotgun going off at everyone in the scene. So, there's no slut jokes about Blanche in this one. There's no dumb jokes about Rose in this one. So it makes Sophia's humor seem a little bit more acidic and cruel.
Yeah.
Cruel, yeah, because it's focused. It's focused on one character.
Focused. If she was going off at everyone, it would be a little less.
Well, and it's funny because it's focused on the guest star, right? It's not Stan. It's not, one of the recurrings. And
I kind of get it because like for the structure of the episode, one things we don't talk about is they're 20 minutes long, right? If you want to make the bad guy fucking awful, but still deliver your jokes, you have to focus where the attention.
Yeah, I don't buy that his jokes are worse by comparison. I think they're both awful, except he wants to marry her. And I think the other thing that I think Michael or you pointed out is that, he treats her like a servant. He treats her disrespectfully, just generally.
Yeah, he's not only making fat jokes about her. He's being just awful in every way.
The fat jokes Sophia makes get laugh tracks. The fat jokes he makes do not.
They get giggles.
They get giggles because the thing is, that's the difference. That's the difference because Sophia's absolutely get roaring laughter. And I don't think that's just the laugh track, but everybody's suddenly uncomfortable laughing at the joke because he's so icky. And my question is, how come it's different? And you're right, Michael, it would have been brilliant if that could have gotten addressed in the episode. And Don, you're right. You only got 23 minutes. There ain't that kind of time.
I don't know. So I think the thing that we kind of brush up against with this stuff is like, it's hard to quantify what feels like an acceptable fat joke. And Trevor has described it as, would the joke still work if the character weren't fat? And I think that's accurate. But I think there's something else, which is that there are fat jokes in like Chris Farley movies, and they don't bother me most of the time. And I think there's a certain degree of like, who's written it and how much affection do they have for the person in the place of the fact of like, can you feel how much, disdain there is for fat people in the writing and delivery of the joke? And in this case, like you pointed out, like it's a fat character who by all other measures is a great person, who is a kind, good person, who's also a guest on this episode, who does, is just somebody they literally brought in to stand there and take fat jokes. Like, and the actress feels mean. And
the actor is remarkably pretty and humble. It's just like you want to like.
Curious if that character ever comes back.
So
they bring
Trevor,
the character of Rebecca back with a different actress who is thin, and they do not remark that she was fat. That the whole inception of the character on the show
goes away.
She is fat, and everything else with Rebecca after the first episode is about her being independent, and it's her wanting to have a baby through a sperm donor and IVF.
They just wanted to move on from that. What I do appreciate is that, and I think there were at least two, maybe even three actors who played Rebecca. And what I appreciated though is that it wasn't just we needed, Blanche has a daughter. The relationship between Blanche and her daughter is consistent across the episodes, which is that Blanche tends to be controlling and micromanaging of her daughter, and then later her granddaughter when that baby grows up and she tries to get her in a pageant. We see this controlling mother throughout the entire series, and that tracks, and that is absolutely evident in why there was the original rapprochement that we see in this episode with the daughter who shows up as fat, that she ran away because mom was being controlling.
I don't know. I think if they did this, Golden Girls now, this storyline now, I think Blanche would have two daughters who she has this troubling relationship with.
Well, that always puzzled me. Why not just give her a second daughter?
And I would say that it's
because I don't think it was.
We wouldn't be able to make as many jokes about it.
No, because it was. It's not that. I think
there would be
the surprise. The whole first scene that she shows up in is about their shock about how fat she is. That's why they make
no. What I'm saying is across the series, the writers think of this as the same relationship, therefore the same daughter. That's why
does that need to separate into two daughters?
That's my point. It doesn't.
No, but Trevor was saying that
because I think there could be I see it like to really explore these themes of, I think there would be, the two daughters, there's Blanche's body issues and there's the fat, confident daughter, and that just like Blanche has this resentment that like she struggled her whole life with her body, and to, you know, she's still not comfortable with her body, especially as she's aging. And there is the, you know, kind of like manifestation of that. And then there is the perfectionist daughter who, and I imagine it's both like Blanche, you know, this is like more like kind of like, okay, we're going into like woke future Golden Girls. This is my Golden Girls 2.0.
Well, because
so there is, you know, the fat, confident daughter, and then there is the neurotic, skinny daughter who just is trying to not bend over backwards for Blanche, but just kind of like constantly butting heads.
So this is your wish, basically. But this is your wish for the series, nothing that you could really adjust.
I mean, given that it's, I don't have a time machine and I can't break into the world of 80s TV comedy writing where I would be, you know, the only, like, I don't know, non-old Jewish vaudeville writer man in the room. Like, yes.
No, I remember, I actually, not to torpedo your point. Yes, I think that would be not, yes, if one had a magic time machine and blah, 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 blah. But I think that may be the way to end this discussion is, I think that the metaphor or the image of someone sends you a postcard saying they're coming for a visit is where this episode lives, and it's doing really good job, because that was a very nice postcard and it said when I'm kind of come to visit. And I think it's not even for its time, but I think we're focused on the whole fat thing, but I don't think that's what the episode was about for them, for the writers. I don't think that's what their episode was about. Or if it was, it seriously veered to different directions.
Well, it's a little bit of disconnection between the first and second half. You know?
I think what it is, there's two plots in this episode. There's the A plot, which is the Rebecca comes to visit and she has a terrible man with her and she's fat. And then there's the B plot of
the strike.
Sophia is trying to, you know, get her like fast food, you know, child manager to, you know, and like, so the primary source of jokes in the episode are either fat jokes or jokes that Sophia is that's around the situation with Sophia in the B plot. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like there's nothing else going on. So they had a story they wanted to tell, which was they wanted to tell this great story about how Blanche is going to try and connect with her daughter in a way that she can sort of save her daughter from this terrible decision. But they had to make that funny somehow. How do we do that? Make her fat and tell fat jokes.
Oh, I don't think that's what happened at all. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
how else would you make that funny? The guy's terrible. Like you have to tell jokes somewhere in all of these scenes where you're also having this drama happening. Yeah, and he's saying awful things about her daughter. Like,
maybe I'm misunderstanding your point. You're saying that B plot is designed to lighten the A plot?
No, the B plot's there because it's a 20-minute show and they have to have a B plot. Like the A plot is so. I'm saying the A plot is such a well-designed, serious plot line that has real weight to it.
Yeah.
But it is a comedy. They have to make it funny.
Well, that's what I said, that the A plot is so heavy that you need a B plot that's just funny.
No, the A plot is so heavy that they made her fat so they could tell fat jokes about her during it.
Oh, no. I don't think
yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely what happened.
No way.
Well, listener, what do you think? I was going to say a shout out to the listeners that I really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed watching this old episode of Golden Girls and talking about it. So listeners, if you have any episodes of old TV shows that have stuck in your mind from way back when that you think would be of special interest to our show, write in, tell us about them.
It's going to be rough because I know it's just going to be a lot of fat jokes. Like so many fat jokes. It's poor Michael. Yeah.
The goal is to cover different ground with that. Yeah. So we don't want to do the same thing over and over. So we'll find something that provides a different spin on it. Mm-hmm. Do we have a tip today?
We do. So this is, it's weird because, this is Matthew Anchel, the opera singer, just opera singer, voice teacher, Instagram extraordinaire guy, on his stories this week. Tigress Osborne from NAFA, executive director, sent me this. And it was so funny. In his Instagram stories, he was talking about using Southwest's customer of size policy to fly and looking for a handsome gentleman as the plane was boarding to offer the, third seat in the row and like how he like saw this handsome tall guy. He's like, excuse me, sir. This second seat is mine. So if you want a little more room, you should sit on the aisle.
This is a great tip for the Chub for Chubs. Yeah. That you already have your second seat. You invite this other person who needs a free second seat and you take up the row.
Or just
a great idea.
Chaser.
It could be anybody you're attracted to could sit in that third seat. Like,
well, yeah, the problem with a straight size person doing it is it could be really icky. Like, hi, fat person, you could sit here next to me.
Because it was the fat person inviting the small person
inviting the smaller person he's attracted to sit next to him.
Yeah. He's using the customer size policy as a way to flirt. That's what was happening.
As long as the person instigating the flirt is the person of size, that works. Yeah.
Well, they have to be because they.
Yeah.
That's how they have the extra seat. That's cute. I like.
Yeah, that's cute. Okay.
Bit. What do we got?
Well, since we're talking about Golden Girls, and since there are 4 of them, and since there are 4 of us, since everybody loves playing games where we assign who is who. We're playing Who's Who today. All right. So we're going to have a little mini discussion on which of us is which Golden Girl. And I have listed a couple other shows that we can do this with as well.
Okay.
So since we are here fresh with Golden Girls, who is who? Which of us is which?
I don't know. I think that could be
Dorothy.
a lot of...
Dan's Dorothy.
Yeah, unless I'm Blanche.
I think Trevor's Blanche.
Yeah, okay.
I think Trevor's Blanche.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Dorothy.
I'm probably Rose,
which leaves Dawn as Sophia.
I don't mind being Sophia. I'm fine with that.
I can also see Trevor as Sophia, though.
Picture it.
Yeah, but also remember, Blanche is really witty too. She has all these like one-liners that are like, really sassy one-liners.
Yeah, but they're about sex.
Well, Mr.
Exactly. Of all of us sitting here are going to make a sex joke, I'm pretty sure Trevor's the top of the list.
I was thinking me, but no. Okay, Trevor. Yeah.
All right. But while everyone does,
you just want to be Blanche, don't you, Dan?
No,
and that's a very Dorothy thing to be.
No,
it's actually kind of funny, isn't it? Like, which one would you want to be? All of us. Like, for me, I actually want to be Sophia. I love Sophia.
Yeah, no, I have no problem being Dorothy. I think that fits in a lot of capacities. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dorothy. I mean,
we got a lot of love for Dorothy here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because Dorothy seems the most measured out of all of them. Like she seems like the most like a real person to me.
Okay. Well, Golden Girls is not the only one we do this with. Sex and the City is another popular one.
Oh,
I need to ask Trevor to dive into this one though, because I've never seen the show.
Dawn, Charlotte, Michael, Miranda, Dan, Samantha, me, Carrie.
Yeah. And that's why I thought maybe Blanche, because I definitely qualify as Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've never seen the show, so I'm going to just give a little thumbs up.
Miranda's perpetually like really stressed out.
Okay.
And in her head about the morals and legals and the like, is it right? Is it not right? What do I feel about
Charlotte is the prude.
See that.
Charlotte, yeah.
I'm the prude. I am the prude. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, and she's also the one with the most traditional, like I'm going to get married and he's going to be a doctor and he's,
All right. Here's another famous foursome. The cast of Will and Grace.
Oh,
Will,
wow.
Grace, Jack, and Karen.
I actually don't know Will and Grace that well.
I think Michael's
so
Will.
We may have to rely on Dan on this one.
I think Michael's
a good Will.
I think Michael's Will.
Enough that I could probably. I think Trevor is
Jack.
Grace. You think Trevor's Jack?
Oh, I forgot about Grace.
Well, you could be Grace actually. Well,
I think Trevor would be Jack.
Really? I guess so. But Jack is so like flouncy. I don't see Trevor as flouncy.
Well, no, but with a trampoline.
I see Trevor more as either Karen or Grace.
Trevor, which of them would you want to be?
I don't. I mean, I've
don't know the show.
I've seen the episodes of Will and Grace, but I can't really like break the characters down into archetypes.
I'm not sure we map onto that.
I feel like Michael is our
Dan
Will,
is Karen.
hands down.
Dan is Karen because Karen will just say whatever. Like she doesn't fucking care what you think about what she says.
Yeah.
I think Dawn is Grace.
I would tend to agree with that. I think Grace is sort of the neurotic one of the four of us. I think I'm probably the most neurotic.
Yeah, well, then that leaves Trevor as Jack. Okay, that works.
Okay. All right.
All right, got that off. Check.
Okay. If the four of us were the four houses of Hogwarts,
Hufflepuff.
which would we each be?
Okay, so Trevor and I argue about this a lot.
Dan's Ravenclaw.
Dan's going to say that Trevor
Dan's
is Slytherin.
Ravenclaw. We know
is that
he's
right?
Ravenclaw.
No, I think I'm a Gryffindor, but Trevor thinks I'm Ravenclaw.
Oh, you're definitely Ravenclaw. Also,
would
like,
agree.
Michael's
it is a
Gryffindor.
fallacy. It is a fallacy that any one person is any one house. Like, that's not actually how the lore works either. But
it's the game.
yeah,
But you gotta live somewhere.
Sure. If you had to pick a primary,
You have to live somewhere, Michael. There's only 4 dormitories. You can't live in all of them.
I
Michael's
think my
Gryffindor.
primary would be Gryffindor.
Yeah, Michael's Gryffindor. If he's Gryffindor, then I'm Ravenclaw.
I guess if it's the four of us, so Dan's Ravenclaw, Michael's Gryffindor, Don's Hufflepuff, I'm Slytherin.
Yeah, that tracks. Trevor tries to look like a Hufflepuff, but he's really a Slytherin.
That's a very Slytherin thing to do.
Anytime I take the quiz, I'm always Hufflepuff. Throughout the years,
I think Trevor is actually Hufflepuff, just because because the Hufflepuff I feel like is the likeliest to have the most like neurotic people in it.
The best quiz of that type I found actually combined the houses, so that like I was a Slitherpuff. Right?
Oh dear.
Well, that's
that
what I
makes
mean.
more
Like
sense
nobody's
to me.
any one thing.
Yeah, but exactly. It makes more sense. You know, in The Wizard of Oz, which of us is Dorothy? Which of us is the Cowardly Lion? Which of us is the Scarecrow? And which of us is the Tin Man?
Golly.
Huh.
Don, I don't know. Cowardly Lion feels right for you.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I was thinking
could see
Scarecrow
that.
for me.
Huh. Well, it's funny because the things that they say they need are actually not true. Like the Scarecrow thinks he needs a brain, but he's the one coming up with plans the whole movie. Like he actually does have a brain and he is smart. That he just thinks he needs the brain. So that kind of tracks.
I think I'm Dorothy because I just like instinctively say to Dan, like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Also, to me, Dorothy reads very like, I just want to take a nap.
Yeah.
Like, that's the same
That's Trevor.
sentiment,
That's Trevor.
which is, I think, very
Nice.
Trevor.
Which leaves
would
Tin Man
leave
for you,
Tin Man
Michael,
for
which I
me.
think totally right. It's totally
I think
right.
that's right.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of it. I always wanted to be the Tin Man when I watched the movie. So
well,
sure.
then.
Yeah.
He's the one with the axe. Come on.
He had the axe.
Scarecrow has a gun.
That's right. I didn't realize that until someone pointed it out
Oh
to me.
my
that
God,
he has
that's
a gun.
right. He does have a gun.
It comes out of
actually
nowhere.
Makes sense. It's if you watch it closely, it is a comically oversized fake looking gun, which is a joke about how scared they are.
Yeah.
It's wild. It still doesn't really fit, but it is meant to be funny in that he is so scared he needs this like giant cardboard cutout gun.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and the Cowardly Lion has rope or something.
It's his tail.
No, he
It's
has
his
rope.
tail.
He has rope.
He's
And then
walking around
Tin Man
holding
has
his
his
tail all the time.
axe, and Dorothy had something too.
And my axe.
Right. Okay, let's bring it home.
So, dear listener,
Please.
what TV show do you see us as? Trevor, where can they tell us?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars on your preferred podcast platform. Leave us a review. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com, baby. I should make www.bigfatgaypod.com/bigfat. Wait. Oh.
What?
/baby.
The snake is eating its own tail.
Well, maybe, listener, you're like me and you're tired and you just want to go home. And you got to click your heels 3 times and, oh no, it's the Wicked Witch of the West. Watch out.
Yeah, but well, I mean, it's implied.
Cackling implies watch out.
Yes.